like to break it down into two different things, and it's two different results. What kind of result do you want on the exit of the corner? The earliest exit point, I mean, a lot of people think that that's always the result that you want, but there's two different types of corners. There's a corner where all you're going to do on the exit is you're going to be in the correct spot so that you're set up for the next turn, and there's going to be a corner where it's going to drive onto a straight. I mean, do you really want to get on the throttle as soon as you can if the next corner is going to be a real tight left-hander coming up fast? You really don't want to, because if you get on the throttle, that means you're going to push yourself wide to the outside of the track or wherever you don't want to be, so that you're not going to be able to get a good turn in for the next corner. You either want the result of a good drive on the corner exit, or you want a good setup. So if you look at it that way, say for example, let's talk about the blind left-hander on the backside of the track. I think we're calling it 7.
Yes, 7.
Yeah. So once you break into that corner, I mean, is it important to get on the gas as early as possible once you start exiting that corner? No. No, why? Because it's going to put you right out in the grass, right? So that's where you want the result to be a good setup for the next corner. You're not necessarily going to have an earliest exit line there, but the next corner past that, it has a small straight, right? So you want to get a good drive down the straight. So the result that you want out of that corner is going to be the earliest exit line. So you've got either a setup or a drive. If you go into turn 7 and you actually take it a little bit slower, you might have some people pass you through turn 7. I mean, we shouldn't be passing, but I mean, in the other groups, they'll pass you, on the outside if you're going too slow through turn 7. A lot of times what happens when people go fast and they can carry this corner speed, because I mean, that's what we're all here for. We like corner speed, right? I mean, we're not drag racing. So if people carry that corner speed, then what they're going to do is most of the time they're going to blow their exit. They won't be set up for the next corner, which you'll be able to drive out, get on the throttle faster because you're in the right place, and because you do, I mean, you're going to have tons of time over there in that corner. And if you have a lot of corners like that, especially say on this track coming down into turn 1. So turn 1, what result do you want on turn 1 on the exit? You want a setup, right, for turn 2. So, if you go in there and say, you're really proud of, you can really late brake in there and carry a lot of speed, what does that do for you? It puts you in the wrong section of the track for your turn in for the drive up the hill. So when, you hear all the time, like Dave says in the riders meeting, he talks all the time about 85% of all the fall downs are because of too much corner entry speed. That's exactly what it is, those types of corners. Because people get into this corner where they've got so much speed, and then all of a sudden the turn tightens up, or they have to tighten it up to get to the point where they need to be to turn in for the next corner so they can get the drive out of the next corner. So when you hear that 85%, it's probably on a setup corner, because you can't carry any speed out of it. You got to slow down, come out of it. So you're going really fast, slow down a lot more to get in the right position. It's just not where you want to be. The visualization portion comes into play. I mean, visualization comes into play in everything that we do. But I mean, that's looking through and finding out what kind of result you want on that corner. That's what's going to determine what kind of result you want, and that's how you need to play in your corner. When you go home tonight, you should be able to close your eyes and go through this racetrack in your mind, and you should be pretty close to on timing at every point. And you should, start to think about these things. Close your eyes, go through the racetrack, or go back in the pits, close your eyes, go through the racetrack in your mind, and think about the corner that you're coming up on. If you're coming up on 1, what result do you want to have, and what do you need to do to get there? Do you need to come in fast? No, you need to come in a little bit slower so you're on the right side of the track so you can flip it in and get the earliest exit line on turn 2. When you come up to turn 3, what do you want on turn 3? Drive. Yeah. Right. Because it's basically one big corner that's a double apex corner, and then what you want to do is on the exit of it, you want to be able to roll on the throttle as soon as possible so that you can get out of the corner as fast as you can. Because you don't have to set up for the next corner. Limited corner entry speed for your level and experience will ensure that you maintain the proper and safest line through a corner. A lot of that comes back to too much entry speed. That's kind of what everybody does. That's the classic mistake.
Yeah, and what you're really fighting there a lot is inertia, right? As you come down off the straight, the weight, your weight, in my case 205 pounds or so, plus 400 plus 500 pounds motorcycle, is a lot of weight moving at 120 plus miles an hour. And if you don't start preparing early to scrub that speed to the proper point, then inertia is going to carry you right off the track. So the idea of too much corner entry speed comes down to knowing how to use those skills, knowing how to brake and steer your motorcycle, and thinking about it, visualizing it early enough to make sure you get it done so that when you do get ready to tip your motorcycle into the corner, you're going slow enough that it will actually steer and go where you want it to go, instead of carry you off the track. Because if you get into a corner and you're braking late and you have all that inertia built up from that straightaway, your chances of actually turning the bike and getting it around the corner are much lower. But if you're easing on the brakes early, rolling off the throttle gently, and preparing to scrub that speed down to where you need it, then you're going to be able to tip that motorcycle in and get it around the corner. So when we talk about, we spend a fair amount of energy talking about too much corner entry speed, because people tend to drag race down the straightaways and then do whatever they do in the corner, and eventually what happens is somebody drag race down the straightaways, grounds the straightaway, and ends up off in the grass. You know, oh crap, I can't turn, I'm going off. Stand up the bike and shoot off into the grass. I've done it, lots of people do it, it happens. Try not to let it happen, because again, you've given up control of your machine at that point. You no longer are in control, inertia is in control of you, and you can't fight it, it's too late. So prepare early by thinking about it ahead of time. That's what we mean when we talk about too much corner entry speed. On the street, it has much more dire consequences, doesn't it? Because there is no runoff, right? It's the guardrail, it's the trees, it's the rocks, it's the power pole, it's other oncoming traffic on a right-hander, right? Nobody wants to drift over the center line. So the consequences on the street are extremely dire, if not deadly. But on the track, we have a runoff. We don't want to use it because you don't know what's out there. I did it a couple of weeks ago at Crescent, free riding, went whisking off into the grass. The grass was about 2 feet high. I crapped my pants out there. I thought I was going to hit a big old boulder or a big ditch or something. I couldn't even see. I'm just flying through the grass like flying through powdered snow. I had no idea what was underneath it. Fortunately, it all worked out okay. But no snakes, no nothing, no. But you don't have that luxury on the street. On the street, it's either into the oncoming traffic or off into whatever is waiting for you on the outside of the corner on the left hand.